You are watching a Fact TV presentation of the town of Swanzey.
6 o'clock, okay. I will call to order the June, I'm still back before I went on vacation. I'm going to call to order the July 25th meeting of the planning board here at Wickham Hall. And I'll begin with the roll call. Scott Self, that's me, I'm here. Richard Lane. Here. Mark Scalera. Here. Brandon Self. Here. Michael York. Here. Victoria Ames. Here. Charles Harbeck, sorry. Here. And Steve Malone, alternate. Michael Scungio, alternate. Jane Johnson, alternate. And we have a full board anyway, so we didn't need one alternate here, so we'll continue to what's on the agenda for tonight. And it's discussions and other business, actually, is what it is. And it is a site plan modification for Hyperbaric Fitness LLC. And item B is 2025 zoning ordinance updates, initial discussions, and actual updates. We're just going to talk about it. And any other business as may be required. So first of all, do we need a regional impact vote? No. Nope. Nothing on there for that. So, we need that. So I will go on to approval of the minutes of July 11th, 2024. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Michael York and seconded by Richard, I guess. Yeah.
Yes.
So is there any further discussion, changes, or alterations, or anything about the minutes? Okay. And all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Most opposed? And I abstain. So, getting down to business then, our first item up there is a Hyperbaric Fitness LLC site plan modification. We have everything in front of us here. And who do we have here for it? Oh, you guys are over there hiding on us.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know. You guys can come up to the front there.
That's right. We don't trust you sitting behind us.
Thank you.
So, I'm Michael McCosker. I work at Hyperbaric Fitness.
Mike McCosker.
McCosker. And this is Joe Maid, owner of Hyperbaric Fitness, resident of Swansea.
Michael's my marketing director and my son-in-law, so he has to be.
Yeah.
Just saying.
And I'm sorry, your name, sir?
Joseph Mabe, M-A-B.
Thank you.
So this is a site plan modification. So the board just needs to take a look and have a consensus whether you agree if it's a site plan modification or not. So generally in a site plan modification, it doesn't really alter anything. Anything that's been going on there, plain dog anyway, going on there, stays going on there. No additions, no additional business or any of that type of thing. This one is going to have 2 small buildings taken down by the looks of it. Are there 3 there or 2? Or 2, right?
There's actually a
There's
third
a third
outbuilding
building
that's also rotting.
That's coming down too, right?
Yes.
So there are 3 of those small buildings coming down, and they're going to enclose the area there. So at first sight, this looked like it wasn't a site plan modification to me anyways, because they were increasing the size of the building by another building, the same exact size. But I went down there to take a look at it, and it's a waiting area right on the end of that building, which is that same size, which they're using tables so people wait before they go in there. And what they're going to do is they're going to enclose it with actually greenhouse material. They're opaque panels, probably about, I don't know, maybe 3/4 of an inch wide. Is that correct?
Yeah, they're
going to be
8 millimeter.
probably like a pole barn structure with the panels around it, and on top too, so the roof is going to be the same too.
It would be a similar pitch to what we currently have.
So basically, I guess it is in a greenhouse and it's enclosing that area there. But anyways, getting back to the initial question, is this a site plan modification or do they have to come in for a site plan?
So is this our site plan?
This is it, yeah. And there is another copy of it. Actually, I have a copy there. We don't have that.
Oh, yeah.
This is about the
That
same.
is the old site plan that was initially approved.
This is the new.
That is the new one.
Okay.
They were initially approved under multi-tenant.
Multi-tenant, yeah, because they had the hot dog stand was there, and the ice cream stand was there.
Yeah.
Which it still is a multi-tenant, actually.
Yes.
This is approved.
So those are the last 2 documents in the packet. Just if you want to
And also, just for point of discussion, we're just putting the greenhouse back that was there before. I know it's been like 7 years or whatever, but when we bought the property, it came like when we saw the printout of the property, it had a greenhouse on it.
This is a selling point for us.
The selling point for us, because we wanted a greenhouse, but, so anyway, we're just putting it back, actually a little smaller than the original footprint, like, I think you were there, Scott. It's about 20 feet back from what it used to be, so it's a smaller greenhouse than was already there.
But it's still 30 by 40, correct?
Sure.
Yeah. And that's about the size of that pad it looked like to me on the back. Not even a pad, it's gravel.
Is it connected to the existing structure?
Oh, no,
So let's,
no.
before we get into it, let's decide. Is it a modification? In my opinion, it's a modification because of those reasons. They aren't changing anything. They're removing a couple of buildings, and the business is staying the same, parking staying the same, everything else, they're doing that. But we need to hear from the board on that.
But is the business staying the same? I'm slow on this. So, this, Mike Jasmine's notice says that the use of the greenhouse space is for storing animals.
People are gonna wait with their animals.
While I'm in the chamber, I park my dog in the greenhouse.
I don't know about that.
Is what you do?
So we do have a large, right, currently it's a waiting area outside. We don't really have that many people that like to utilize it, but we have a lot of people that bring their pets and want a space for them to just be. And so that would allow them to do that
Yeah.
during the winter or summer.
And we also do pets in our tank right
You
now.
do, okay.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
oh, yeah. We're the only, literally in the world that does a person and their pet. Nobody else does that. So what we want to do is get rid of some of those unsightly buildings, move all that equipment into the back part of the greenhouse, because one, it makes more economic sense because it's heated. I don't have to run space heaters all year. And also it'll be cooled, heated automatically by solar gain, which I'm really into the green footprint, so I don't want to spend more electricity. And second of all, some people, so we have other tanks. Some people can't, they're allergic to dogs or cats, so we can't bring the dogs or cats into the building. And now more people have pets than children, so we just want to be able to serve all the requests of our current customers.
So the business isn't changing,
No.
what you're doing there isn't changing?
No, it's just allowing a little bit more of a, not a service.
We're
but
having people
making
not
people happy.
respond to cat dander when they come into our building. Now it's a big deal. I mean, 10 years ago, no one was, now everybody's like allergic to dogs or cats or something. It's just crazy. So we have to separate the people from the pets.
And just for my own personal information, do I bring my dog with me at the same time? Is that how it works, or do you do the dog separately?
You bring your little Fifi and put it right across from you, and you handle your dog. No one touches your dog, just you and Fifi. And you both get 2,000% more stem cells.
Okay.
That's how it works.
We will also offer, we're kind of doing the experimental side of the pet operation now, but if somebody needs to drop their pet, we'll have them in a crate.
Yeah, we'll do it for you, but we really want you with your dog.
Got it. Thanks.
I'm not certain, you're talking about enclosing this building, correct? Or it is
It's-
enclosed, but you're going to be adding electrical,
It's an open spit pad right now with
Right.
crushed stone, and so it would be just enclosing that space. There's no building there currently.
okay, so you're gonna enclose it, you're putting a roof on it.
Yes.
It's a greenhouse.
You're gonna be heating it,
Yep.
okay? There's a lot of mechanical stuff going on there, I wanna see something more than just saying, okay, you can do this. And besides, there's the air tank, where's that going?
Well, it can either stay there since we approved it there, or they told me it was going behind the building.
Okay, so,
We're moving it 3 feet.
Pardon me?
We're moving the air tank 3 feet.
Into where?
Into where, it's already in a, there's three buildings. The air tank is the
sitting
storage.
out there by itself, right?
It's already out there underneath another greenhouse on it. We're just pulling that down and just moving it 3 feet over. It's already on its own pad.
It's not
So-
enclosed.
Yeah. the air tank's-
Somewhat, there was one,
This-
when I was in anyways, there was one side was open, I think, but it was, had a roof over it when I was there.
The air tank is currently closed.
It's
Yeah.
enclosed in the greenhouse. One of our outbuildings is a 10 by 8 or 10 by 10.
It's shed that
It's a shed.
has our air compressor, and then off of that is a corrugated plastic little greenhouse structure that has our air tank.
Okay, when I was over there a week ago, I saw, I can see your old ice cream place, the
Yep.
next building, and beyond that, there was what appeared to be a huge tank.
There
Well,
are two
those
new
are our,
ones.
yeah, those are our air receiver tanks that are gonna go into the greenhouse, yeah.
Okay, so those are gonna be moved inside.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to see something more formal.
Okay, Richard wants to see something more formal. Charlie? Is it
Really,
modification, or do they have to come back with something more formal?
probably something more
That's our
formal.
question. Brandon?
I consider it a modification myself.
Modification.
Mike? Mark?
I think it'd be worth it to have something more formal, so we have it on record.
Victoria?
I'm thinking about parking relative to, I'm not sure, is the parking specified?
The
I
parking.
didn't have time to go to the site, so.
Yeah, well, the parking, I doubt would change because they aren't utilizing any of those areas for parking. They're utilizing the areas over here for parking and over there for parking.
So that's far removed from the tank and
Yeah.
structures.
Yeah.
Okay, there's no circulation behind these, there's no, you don't drive behind the buildings.
No, it's all fenced.
No.
in.
Okay.
Yeah.
With
The property, Angela, you can see the property lines right there.
I think it's a modification.
So let's see, I think it's a modification. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I didn't get Michael Wilkes.
Michael said it was a modification.
Okay, thank you.
So Michael said modification, Brandon modification, Charlie modification? And Mark didn't, and Victoria modification, and me modification. Mark, not a modification, and Richard not a modification. So it looks like the board is considering it a modification.
I thought you said it wanted something more formal. Okay, so
So it's not, oh yeah, okay, that means, yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then his vote was different. His vote was for more information.
four modification, 3
So that's 1, 2,
more.
3 modification, 4, or 3 more information, 4 modification. That's how it's.
Before I cement my vote, could I just ask Adam, how, again, like my question last week, this is something that
We will be talking about this later.
the town needs to
We're-
put on file and enforce? Is this something that as staff, you guys feel like you can adequately address issues?
We're going to bring this up later in this meeting. About
It affects my vote, though, so.
True. So, I personally, I don't like this site.
Okay.
But they're not modifying this specific site plan. They're taking the existing pad and they're covering it. So that pad's already on the site. This is another kind of funny one, kind of like last week with Ron Cormier. I'm okay with them drawing it on to this to scale if they did. Only because that pad's already existing and we can already see the outline on a map.
Okay, just to be clear,
I do also
I'm
have
all about files, okay?
Yeah, sure.
So just knowing that this is gonna live in town hall, this is gonna represent what you're doing, and staff has to work with it, that's why I'm asking.
Sure.
Just to make sure that it's something that we can be fair and equitable with everybody else in town.
That is what was approved for the tenant.
Okay.
I do also have some building designs that I can bring to the next meeting, if we need access to that. But I had kind of asked Adam, just like, I'm not sure if this is too much or what I need to do to help, so, yeah.
I'm still good.
Okay, so it's 3 to 4, that is a modification, so, or 4 to 3 is modification.
I'm taking you to Mike's.
So now we can go into, other information that we have here. Jasmine sent us a memo here, and to me, it's not really clear what he's talking about, but everyone had it in front of them there. It says, it was presented to me that this space would be used for the accessory use of pet sitting of those animals belonging to customers of the on-site business, Hyperbaric Chamber, during sessions and appointments. This space has not been reviewed by my office for any other use. But it looks to me like it's not going to be used for any other use, right? It's going to be used for pet sitting. So if it's going to be used, I think what Mike is saying, if it's going to be used for any other use, then he wants to review.
That is
Okay, that is what he's talking about. Okay, that's the letter, you know. So anyways, they're coming before us for uses of pet area.
And one other thing that he didn't put on there, the existing building that's there is within the setback, so he just wants to make sure that this new structure is not within the setback.
Yeah,
That
it's,
is within the setback,
it's
right?
25 feet.
It's not, it's,
Yeah, the way the property line slopes, it makes
Is
sense.
it?
Yeah, it makes sense that that building is in this building. It just needs to be 20 feet from the property line.
I'm just taking.
Please do.
And yep, that is 20 feet. Okay, 20 feet.
Yeah, it's 20
20
feet.
feet.
Well, it's.
Okay, so-
That's right.
We can see what they're doing there. As I explained, they're enclosing, we talked about they're enclosing that gravel area out back there. And I don't know if anybody else has been to it. I guess Richard had been to it. They're already using that site, but it looks like for a waiting area. It's going to be enclosed, not going to, but you said about heating the building, and are you running utilities out to the building?
So we already have utilities out to those sheds.
Yep.
We're just literally plugging, we're literally just going this way 3 feet.
So are you going to use that in the wintertime as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so you will need lights out there, obviously.
Yeah,
It
lights.
gets pretty dark at 5 o'clock in the wintertime.
Yeah, we have right now in one of the sheds, our most insulated shed, we have a 3-phase power converter, which I don't personally, there's already 3-phase that it comes over. I could pay $40,000 and have it officially, not just a small business. I don't want to spend 40 grand for a 3-phase power. And it's already on the property.
The ice cream shed has a separate service.
Yeah, the
That
ice
would
cream
be just
shed.
shifting over and then running
The ice cream
twice.
shed isn't 3-phase though.
No, it is
right?
not.
No,
No,
it's-
it's
no, it's
the
220.
brown shed is where the 3-phase converter is, and then that
Yeah.
would all get shuffled.
Yeah, and it's just, we just have regular 220 coming in, and then we have a converter, a phase converter.
Yep. And that's running your compressor.
Yep.
Yeah, and actually it's a pretty quiet compressor. So,
It is.
It'll
Yeah.
be even quieter when it's in that sort of.
When it's in a greenhouse, it's even
Because
quieter.
then we don't have to
It's
vent out.
48 decibels.
So then are you planning on using the heat from that compressor to heat that greenhouse?
Absolutely.
Because they generate a lot of heat.
Absolutely.
Okay,
And
so
so
that's how you're gonna
to
do it.
vent it out of the shed, which we're doing right now.
Yeah, we have to vent it right out to cold. I'm like, that's a waste.
Do you know where in that greenhouse that compressor is
Everything's
going?
going to be at the very back wall with a false wall and an access door. It's just going to be, won't even be all the way
Sort
up.
of cubicle walls. in
They
there.
just keep
Yeah.
the walls across in the very back so nobody will see them. And they might see the top of our storage tanks, or air storage tanks. But it's going to be a, 30-foot area that's all just the pets in the tank. And chairs. We're going to get rid of all the old, you saw the old furniture. We're going to get rid of all that. Get new.
And just to be clear on those other buildings, it shows 2, but they're actually 3, correct?
Yeah,
You're
there
gonna
is.
take all 3, eventually all
Yeah.
3 of those are coming down.
We want them down. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
we want. Just has to look nicer.
So the only thing that's happening on this, you're not serving ice cream. The only thing that you're doing on this property is the hyperbaric
Yeah.
chamber, and that's the only use that we're approving.
Yeah.
And just for my own information, what's the typical number of people that you have at any given time here, and customers, clients?
The maximum we can have in an hour and a half span is 12 of clients.
12 clients?
At a time.
Right.
But if you drive by, you're going to see that we're full parking lot a lot.
Because it's usually the people that are coming into the next one.
Yeah, they're
So
coming
they
and
come.
going. We've got people coming and
But
going.
it might
So
be
there's-
like 8 and 8. It's very rare that we're getting 12 and 12 and 12 and 12.
We maxed out we had 100 in our biggest week so far this year was 187 total over 7 days. So we go 7 days a week. So we have 6 sessions a day. So we're averaging 4 to sometimes we have 14 in one session, but we're trying to.
Yeah, we've started that.
We're getting bigger. So.
And then we could clean up our parking situation
Yeah.
without those sheds as well. We've got some quotes on
Yeah.
paving additional spots.
We're trying to clean up the parking lot. That whole parking lot needs one overcoat. We're trying to do that too. But,
So when you come back for that, you'll have to come back for that,
Better.
showing where the spaces are going.
Yep.
Be another modification probably, but
Okay.
just to be clear about that.
Okay.
We'll probably end up putting parking where those buildings are, correct?
I'm hoping not.
No?
I'd rather
Okay.
be green grass
Well,
because we have.
whenever you
animals.
do it, just.
I will definitely ask you guys. Yeah.
So you're showing, I was showing, I think 14, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 parking spaces, is that correct?
I haven't seen that drawn one ever. That was with you and,
We're using, okay.
oh, that was in front of the hot dog stand.
Yeah, that's
Before
for the
that
hot
was.
dog stand.
So this is not relevant, you're saying?
That one-
The parking.
The parking, because when we moved the hot dog stand, there's all that gravel, so some people are parking in that, where the hot dog stand used to be.
So we don't have any documentation of what your actual working parking scenario is?
It's a big open, it's just a big open
So people
spot.
just park wherever?
At the moment.
At the moment, but it's pretty, I mean, it's pretty orderly. We never had an accident there.
But you're growing.
But they have ample room there, and it was like a gift type of a shop before these guys were in there, and there was a lot more traffic in there then, I think, than there is now.
Which is why we want to do greenhouse, then fix the driveway in series, but one and then the other.
So you'll be introducing more lighting in this greenhouse area?
More lighting,
Yeah.
just LEDs, but yeah.
Internal?
would-
Will it be external
It'll be
lighting?
internal.
And they would,
And just out of curiosity, what's this building over here on the neighboring lot?
I think that is Mr. Roy's house.
Yeah, that's his garage.
Or he has a back
That
carriage
shed,
house or
carriage
something.
house shed.
But we can,
But no lighting will
we're
project
kind of done with everything by 6:30. And that would need to have a light on in there, so. should
Right
be
now,
able
we
to-
don't have evening hours. If we did have evening hours, that would just be for the building portion, would be for the, yeah. Well, we do have some evenings, but
Not really past 6:30.
yeah.
And again, if you change your hours, it's changing the site plan.
Okay.
Is it changing
It
the
is.
site plan?
If you change the hours, it changes the site plan, so it would be a modification.
Okay.
Okay.
Good to know.
Okay, so
So, you know,
if I do I mean, what does that mean?
that means that whatever was on the original site plan, whatever those hours were, if you change that, you need to just,
I guess we need to find out what was supposed to
Yeah.
for that.
it's on record, I'm sure, over in the town.
Okay.
Okay.
Where's it?
It was on that one, yeah. So it's on the application over there, so
Okay.
whatever that was.
I'll go check in on that this week.
So there are no surprises.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Thank you.
How do we take, if we're not going to do anything without making forth with a formal plan, how do we get something that might fall as for the mechanical, electrical, et cetera, when he does his inspection, making sure things are where they're supposed to be?
As far as where they're supposed to be, Mike takes a look at it to make sure that it's up to code. I don't know that Mike really should have a say of where their compressor is going or any of that.
No,
stuff. We know where it's going, it's in the back of the building, but he said in the meeting, it's in the minutes where it's going in the back of the building, but they aren't really changing a heck of a lot. You know, their compressor's in one of these buildings and tank is in one of those buildings. It's going right back there. The tank is right there.
This is coming in from Route 10.
Yeah.
This is where that ice cream shed is,
Yeah.
and this is where the other one is.
Compressor building.
And then there's something there.
Right, the tank is right there.
But if they're moving the tank.
Just our
Are you
air
moving
receiver
the
tank.
compressor? Did you say you're moving? the
Yeah,
compressor?
we're gonna move all that stuff. We're gonna literally just, it's,
The air receiver tank and the compressor, and then the electrical service will get moved, and that's it, into that building. Our main tank will still be in the brick building, the one that people go inside of. That's how it
Yeah.
Those are going to be isolated how? From the area where people are going to be with their pets or whatever?
would be. A cubicle.
just a
like
wall.
Cubicle wall. Because there's no,
Yeah, they're, just so you know how it works is we have to have them, those are pressure vessels. And there's state and federal law that we are not just compliant with, but we are over compliant with. So the safety issue is we never have that tank filled up more than 150 psi. And so every 5 years we have to, it's called hydrostatic testing. It gets a little complicated, but we hydrostatic test every pressure vessel. Now the state doesn't have the resources to inspect all the pressure vessels they're legally required to, so we enlist the Swanzey Fire Department to come over and look at whenever we hydrostatic test. We just did it for our main tank inside our building. The state didn't send anybody, they're required to check it. So they didn't, so we called Swanzey and the fire department came over and went, yep, that's a hydrostatic test, good job, and they signed off on it. So all of our equipment, we hydrostatic test, we have licensed electricians that come and look at it.
And he's more worried about the separation of people from this stuff.
Oh, yeah, there's gonna be no access to
The cubicle wall, so
It'll be
long
a
as
door.
somebody's not trying to meddle. And
Yeah, so I
currently,
thought you were
we're
asking about safety.
currently a lot more prone to people meddling at the moment.
Yeah, we've had some metal problems. We've had people come and vandalize some of our stuff, so that's one of the reasons I got rid of that big, remember that big,
The truck.
there's a truck and then there was also a castle with a swing set. There were kids coming and smoking pot and spray painting it and all kinds of stuff off hours. I actually had somebody stay once in a while at night to watch the place because we had several nights where they were getting in. So we just finally just got rid of all the stuff. But yeah, so.
Okay, any other questions? And anybody from the public behind us, nobody behind us, nobody out there from the public on this?
I have kind of just a request,
Yep.
but I'd like to get into the minutes or into our approval or whatever, which is that you're going to be growing, you're going to be making changes to the site plan. And we need more information on the site plan. So the next time you come, and it doesn't, you don't have to hire an engineering firm to do it, but we need things to scale, we need information. We need all the elements of a typical site plan. So you can do that yourself. So
Okay.
I've been learning because of that, so.
I think that would just make everybody feel a lot more confident if we could really know what's happening.
Is it once a month? Zoning board meetings? Yeah.
Planning board, twice a month,
Okay.
2 times.
So the next one would be August.
You could always come to the staff.
Yeah.
and help you with it.
And then if it's adequate, I can go see them and drop off some, well, I have right now, and you guys can shoot me an email, tell me what I need to add to it to make you more confident, so.
So Victoria, are you saying a condition for approval, wait a minute, would be just for them to bring in more information on site plan? And I think that's what you were just talking about.
Yes,
correct?
I'm more than willing to bring in stuff.
All right, so let's,
I would feel that.
if you like, would you like to make the motion
I
to
would
approve it
make
with that
that motion
condition?
that I can make a motion to approve this modification.
Let's accept that.
Uh,
Just to make sure that this is not within the setback. I'll just make that condition.
That is a condition as part of the zoning. We're gonna have to do that way. Didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
With the addition of such site plan information, I put it on you guys as you deem important to be able to monitor the growth and development of this business.
So it would be a site plan with accurate placement of the buildings and any new buildings that are going on there and where things are, such as
Accurate
the
placement of
compressor.
parking,
Yeah, parking, compressor and that, just
setbacks.
put that into a site plan, you can end up with something like that. To scale, because this is to scale, I don't know where you got that, but this is to scale, and you can use something just like that, and they can print it out for you and just put it in there to scale.
Sweet. Nice.
That'd be great.
Absolutely.
Is there a
I'll second.
second to the motion?
But that was kind of what I was driving at.
It is,
initially.
yeah. So Richard seconds the motion. Is there any further discussion? Then all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, so you have your approval, and if you would be kind enough to come in with that information within the next week or two, bring it to one of these guys,
Absolutely.
and we'll be good.
All right. Thank you.
All right, good luck.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You're all welcome to come for a free 3-hour tour.
Could be the spelling of your last
Well, on your testing,
C-C.
you fill it with water.
Capital
Yes.
O-S.
Right, you fill that hairball.
K-E-R.
Hairball chamber.
ahead in Custer.
Yeah.
Which is close.
Yeah, it's close, very close, right?
Exactly. All right, thanks.
You could do it with air.
Well, if you were standing there, you would want to have 200
Yeah, water
guys.
safe.
Once he's brought the, if he's bringing that into your office for review or for you to look at, are we going to get another look at that?
We're gonna talk about it with our next item, I promise you. The next item on the agenda.
Well, let's get to it then. We're on item B, which is 2025 zoning ordinance updates. Is that in that one we're talking
Well,
about?
I wanna-
Prior to that.
Yeah, so we wanna go over things that don't need
Yeah.
vote or approval first. Chief among them are site plan modification requirements. I believe they are lacking currently. I think there needs to be a more formal process to bring these modifications before the board. At least a form, something to get information on paper brought before you guys. I think there just needs to be a basic list of requirements, because right now there's none.
No, there isn't. No, we've
So-
done it by a case-by-case basis, and there have to be some standards that have to be met or not met
Mhm.
in order for it to be a modification or not a modification. So we need to come up with some of those standards there, just so it's fair to everyone,
Yeah.
and that we know what we're doing as well.
Yep, and this and last meeting were two of the very good examples of why we need that process.
So
So
maybe you could do a form for us to start with, to what you think we should have in that form.
Well, first of all, the board just needs to hammer out what is a modification, and we can do it right now. We've got plenty of time.
Let's do it.
What's a modification? A modification to a site plan, in my opinion, doesn't change any character of the site plan. They might want to move a building, might want to reposition over here, over there. They don't remove any parking, because that's been approved on the site plan. Anything on the drawing has been approved like that. So no parking is to be extended or removed. That's not a modification, in my opinion. This is just my opinion, not a modification. Modification might be, I would say, paving something that was gravel. That's a modification. They don't really change anything to the site plan, in my view anyways, you know. They come into the planning board for that. Let's see, what else might be a modification? They might want to modify their hours of operation. Something like that. Very minor things are for modifications. Anything else that they're gonna change, like they're gonna add a building there, let's see, even sometimes taking down a building if it's a big enough size, just so that the abutters are notified and that they can come in and say, well, this or that, whatever they have to say about it, to give the abutters a chance to comment on it.
Change of purpose.
That's a good rule of thumb, right? So if I live next door to the place, what would I want to know about?
Yeah,
That
it
would
is,
be a
right.
good
Yeah, if
sort of
anything's
filter,
changed.
wouldn't it be?
Like a home occupation, we have, you can have them by right now, we approve that, because it doesn't really modify the dwelling. You'd never know the person was in there working in the house or whatever it was. So really, there's no need to come in here. They used to come in here, no need to do that. Whereas a home-based business is a little bit different. They might have a couple of trucks parked outside, equipment stored outside, then abutters might want to comment on that.
In this instance, or in a generic instance, it seemed like the business is perhaps expanding beyond what the original approval was. So that's.
And what do you mean? You know, how so?
I don't.
They're tearing down those two buildings there.
Let's, I don't want to speak about them because they're not here, but so let's
Yeah,
use.
hypothetically.
Yeah, a hypothetical where their current hours of operation are something, but they have, you know, they're gonna have more, what do they call it, you know, not shifts, but more opportunities
Yep.
to use whatever the facility is, so. Which says to me more parking, you know, more overlap, people coming and going, more circulation, you know, people trying to find a place to park. I don't know, you know, not this particular instance, but, you know, increase of intensity of use feels to me like something that is good to know about,
Yeah.
because businesses do outgrow the locations,
They're
right?
also
And
introducing animals, right?
well, they always have, I
Well,
think, haven't
from
they?
the
Yeah,
Yeah.
they've opened it for pets, you know, they have, people can bring their pet, their comfort animal, whatever.
I don't know
it
if
is.
the original, but this, you know, again, they're not here, so,
But, yeah, small things as opposed to larger things, that's what we have to iron out.
Can I run through just a?
Let's hear it.
I just could say, I'm an owner of a small strip mall. Okay, I have X amount of tenants in there. Okay, one tenant leaves, another one wants to come in there. They have an entirely different business than what was in there. Where do we go with that? Is that?
We have
I've
two,
forgotten
we have two, yeah,
exactly
we have
what it is.
two of those, we have a change of use and we have the regular multi-tenant application.
Right.
So we're gonna have that covered in our zoning there, and they usually come in, it's not a modification, they come into the planning board, and we do it usually in one meeting, a public hearing.
But when they come in, we require them, if I'm correct or incorrect perhaps, we require them to show us everything, location,
It's-
of, say, a cooler or something of this nature.
We'd like to see that, I don't know that we really need to require that inside the building or something, anything outside the building, yeah, we should require because it affects the whole site plan there, but inside the buildings, I don't know that we really need to dictate where things have to be.
Say, well, I want to come in and put a recording studio in there with a iron metal group.
Yeah, well
Then
then,
sound, we have, where do we go on that?
that would come in with the multi-tenant application, you know, that would be in what they're gonna be utilizing that building for. So, yeah, if it was a bunch of different noise or a bunch of smoke or whatever coming out of there, then that would be dealt with then. Yeah, or nay.
are butters notified with multi-tenant applications?
They are, yes.
They are, so.
Yeah.
if I was
And they have a
gonna-
chance, and we have a public hearing on those too.
Here's what I basically want to see, and this is why we wanted to talk about it here, because just trying to feel the room, see where you guys are at. I want to see a project statement, just a brief paragraph, what's going on, right? I want them to write it out and tell us exactly what's changing. I want to see a revised site plan to scale. Ideally, it's the originally approved site plan, and they bubble what's changing. If you guys aren't familiar with that, everything that they're changing would be in red, very clearly bubbled, circled, starred, however they want to show it. And then on that site plan, they would have an amended history box, so you can see all the times that plan's been amended. Those are all very basic building plan review processes.
So then if the little guy came in, then you'd be able to print off something just like that to scale.
We could print those off at the office.
And then they'd
Yeah.
be able to just draw on their building.
The problem with that is that that's not what was previously approved.
No,
so-
I get that. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, moving forward, seeing as how we're discussing all
Mhm.
this, because if some just landscaper or whatever that wants a little shed somewhere to keep some of his equipment or something, is he
Yeah.
gonna be able to, why should we make him go out and do this big giant site plan for a little dinky building that he wants to keep some gardening equipment in, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
No, that's very fair, but if it's a site
But
plan,
if we're gonna have like one rule across the board, that might kind of make it harder for the smaller business, like the people that were just in here
Mhm.
versus a bigger business. But if you're able to print those out,
Yeah.
then, I think that's a good idea.
Ideally, we want to see the originally approved plan modified, because that's the whole point of the site plan modification.
And you'd have that over there in the office.
We would,
You
yeah.
could give them a copy of it anyways, and you could give them the list of how the site has been, because they may not have owned the site for
Exactly.
2 years or something, and they
Yeah.
didn't know what the heck went on before that.
Yep, we sure can.
So your department probably should give that little box of how the site has been amended or changed over the years
Well,
there.
we can't draw anything on the plan for the applicant.
No, but you can give them a list.
We
you know,
can.
a print out piece of paper, and they could attach it to the drawing if
Yes.
they wanted to.
Yep, and then going forward, they would be responsible for that.
Because again, we're talking about modifying the site plan, which is not much,
No.
it shouldn't be much in there that they can do to just come in a regular meeting and modify it.
Yeah.
Everything else should be a public hearing.
At best,
So,
we just need a more formal process.
yeah, I don't know, I might be with Brandon a bit on this, and just a simple modification, the repositioning a building, doing whatever, it's
Mhm.
very small there, to make them come in, aside from, if you gave them a printout like that and they could draw it on there, fine, but to make them come in with, jump through a bunch of hoops and stuff
Yeah.
there.
Yep, that's fair.
for that, but we always have them, you know, other things that they're wanting to change the site plan in some way, adding a building, something like that, we always have them come in. I mean, do it. They don't, if they're a small business, sometimes they don't always have to have an engineer do it, but it always has to be what you're talking about there.
So would there be a threshold? So I feel like if we do this, we need a threshold.
Yeah, we do.
If
That's
they
what
cross the threshold.
That's what we're talking about,
Yeah.
what a modification is.
Mhm.
You know, and that threshold would be changing the position of the building to face east to west or something like that, maybe might be on there.
Mhm.
Let's see what else we need to think of, they're just minor, small things that can be done.
Could the threshold be whether any reasonable person would think that it would be necessary to have a public hearing?
I think it's too subjective.
That's too subjective.
But it's not for me to decide, right? This is
Yeah,
why.
yeah.
But no, you're right, I agree with that too. Yeah, probably not that way. We need to just set a few parameters.
If we want to take some time to think about it, if we can maybe bring this up again next meeting, I could bring up some suggestions.
Yeah, we can think about it, but let's come up with a few
Yeah.
that we can think about. You know, say, so would it be repositioning a building? We had one of those back there where we repositioned their building, I don't know, moved it 10 feet or something like that. So we'll say moving a building not more than 10 feet or 20 feet. Something like that.
Yeah.
That's 20 feet is a lot,
20 feet is
so.
a lot.
Yeah.
that's quite a-
It has to be
quite a
the
bit.
size of the building that they're moving to, right?
Well, those modifications that I'm referring to there would be before they actually built the building. You know, they come in, because we do get that site plan, come in here, and then they get with their construction guys and figure, well, this should have been like this, that should have been like that, and they come in here for a modification, we give them a modification, because they already have the site plan review there. It's a minor matter that does not really change the overall character of the site plan.
Yeah.
Which maybe we ought to have in there, something in there, maybe that
Maybe
ought to be
that's
some
it,
of the
it
wording.
doesn't change the
Doesn't
overall
change-
character.
Doesn't change the overall
But
character.
can you just define a little bit more, when you say the word character, what's the picture in your head?
Footprint, not changing the footprint.
Not
No,
necessarily
it's
that, no,
not
because
about
sometimes
it.
they do change the footprint of the buildings
Yeah.
there, but the
The
character,
layout would still be the same.
yeah,
So-
layout would have to be the
Just
same.
move the
Parking, it
building.
doesn't change parking, shouldn't change any of that.
What about topography?
That's all, that's not a modification if they're gonna change the topography, they're gonna be.
Well, I mean, if they're gonna move a building, and they're gonna have to level area.
We're only talking about, they've got a site plan about them maybe tilting a building like that, or like
Okay,
this.
no,
Nothing very major, so, just minor deviations from the site plan.
Okay, did you work with that, minor deviations? you said?
We're allowed to do it. These, no, I think about it.
And things like lighting would probably not be a modification. It could be, I suppose, but lighting that affects neighbors need to hear about what's going on out
Exterior,
there.
outside lighting.
Yeah, outside lighting is not a modification. So we could name things that aren't modifications. Stefan, what do you say?
So, and I might have just overlooked it in everything I was looking at, but what in the RSA's allows us to do a site plan modification if it's not a site plan review?
I haven't seen it in the RSA's. I don't think it addresses it. To my opinion, it doesn't address it anyway. I don't know.
From what I've seen, I haven't seen it.
No, I don't think it does
Site plan
either.
modification.
Because like all the other municipalities that I've looked at, and we're talking about like, if we're talking about comparative in size, like Peterborough, like they have major site plan and then they have minor site plan, and we do the same thing on our board in Keene. Because like, as of right now, modification, there is no site plan review, and there's also no public hearing.
Well, there needs to be a site plan before there can be a modification of a site plan. So
Mhm.
they did have a site plan first. So then they're just modifying it a little bit. And that must happen in Keene or Peterborough or wherever, because these contractors come in and things do change. Minor things change. And they need an easy way to come into the town and say, look, you know,
You make them do a minor
and
site plan.
but, you know, So, sorry.
What is a minor site plan review then? What is that, how is that different from our
So
modification?
it basically comes down to like the intensity.
Okay.
So like for Keene, if you're doing like brand new construction and everything, that's major.
Mhm.
And then if it's minor, it's like they'll do it for anything like change of use or like if you're shifting something, things like that.
Mhm.
And but we don't really have anything like modification.
See, I suspect that the reason we don't is that we've tried to make Swanzey a place where, you know, little guys can
The streamline, yeah.
streamline it, we can not make people jump through a bunch of hoops and whatnot. So I think that's probably how we got to where we are. But I wonder if there isn't something in what you're saying that we could, you know, use in our
If we could
business
get
friendly
away with
way.
like just having a form, but
Yeah.
like, and I'm not saying like a complicated form, but like a very thorough form.
Yeah.
I have some drafts that I can bring to the next meeting.
Yeah.
We don't need to be like anybody else, right? We need to be like Swanzey.
Right, exactly.
We definitely don't
So,
want to be like King or Peterborough.
But, I mean, looking at some other municipalities is a good idea, just to get a baseline. But we can bring in a few ideas, we can mull it over.
Yeah, a form would be good. We do need a form anyways.
On one page.
Never have had one.
Yep, that's
And
on one page, easy form.
We just need a few examples of a minor subdivision, subdivision, a minor site plan review, modification there, minor modification, and what is not a minor modification.
Yeah.
Something like that, in that form.
And so a lot of times there's a percentage threshold, but then how do you measure that percentage? That's the problem.
Yeah.
And again, we don't need to be like anybody else. So let's
we don't.
bring a few ideas forward at the next meeting and we can continue this. And we have some solid.
And on that form, it's just clearly indicated that the planning board will decide whether it is a modified site plan or they need to come in. We always have done that, but it needs to be on that form.
Yeah.
So the person knows that they're coming in and they may or may not get it.
Adam, I think you're going to accomplish a lot if you require this project statement that you said.
I really like it.
You know, because I think that helps people to clarify what they're thinking. You know, we get this very sketchy kind of sentence, and then they start talking, and we realize, wait a minute, there's a lot
So,
of thinking about doing.
Project statements are great, just a quick paragraph of what
Yeah.
you're doing. Just that way we print it off, put it in the packet, you guys can look at it before.
That's going to be huge.
Yeah,
I think that'll make a
good
big
for
difference for
organization.
us.
Okay. My thought is, listening. Unfortunately or fortunately, we are no longer in the 70s or the 80s where we can just kind of say, okay, this is the way we're going to do things without having it down on paper or without defining it. There's too many opportunities now, or it's turned to too many opportunities where litigation gets involved because of our lack of definition of what we actually really want to do. So I think the more we can tighten things down, I know for smaller companies or businesses, it's a little bit rough, but if we can do things like this and we have that mission statement that they have to put forward, I think we can tighten things up and make everybody happier and have things on record so that if we need to go back, so that we have something concrete to refer to.
Yeah, we've needed it for a long time to really define
Definite
modification. Because
definition.
we've done them all through the years, but we do need to define it.
To protect ourselves.
You guys are gonna be working on
Yeah,
it.
no, because of the GIS software we have, we can print out scale site plans.
That's pretty
And
nice. yeah.
they're a little outdated, sure, but it gives you an idea of the space.
And it works, because I measured it, the thing is to scale.
Yep.
So it
Yeah.
came out, sometimes they don't come out right.
Yeah, always a few feet of leeway, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it came out.
And what about multi-tenant?
Okay, so would you put that together for us, and that we can put it into our little folders?
absolutely. Yeah, you guys can look forward to some examples next meeting, and we can talk about it more then.
You gonna email it to us, or?
I can, yeah, I'll email it to you beforehand, probably before the packet.
All right.
Multi-tenant, what do you mean?
Does that work for you, Dick?
Yes.
So to my understanding, in talking with like other municipalities and older planners than that is supposed to just straight up be a site plan. It could be major or minor, but like there's supposed to be a site plan review, public hearing and all. Just,
Well, in our zoning, the multi-tenant can be a multi-tenant if there has been a previously approved site plan. I believe that's how it's
so
stated.
it's kind of a type
So
of
it has,
modification.
it is sort of, but it has it has not a modification. It has the site plan approved by the planning board as a multi-tenant. And then they can come in and change tenants, obviously, is what that's all about, and change other things to it, but it has to be a previously approved site plan by the planning board. And it usually is, unless we miss something. So, okay, let's move on to, what else are we doing here?
Okay, so let's go to the top of the list here. We can talk first and foremost about definitions, and I just want to have broad shop, service establishment, and daycare facility. Anything else?
Let's start with Victoria's.
Yeah.
A few weeks ago, Victoria brought in, and that's a good
What
split.
is that?
The contractor,
Okay, yeah.
no, this was
kinda
just
splits.
defining contractors, what
Right.
contractors
I
are.
have a-
Okay.
Yeah. But this was in the context of these contractor.
Yeah, and these are new definitions.
places.
These are new definitions we're talking about.
Yes, these do not exist.
Okay, so what I did is I looked through the current approved uses in every zone. I would say about 50% of those uses are not defined. For a good reason, because a lot of those just don't need to be defined. There's a lot of those that are pretty self-explanatory, and they don't really give a whole lot of room for leeway. And I don't think all of these need to be defined. I think, Stefan and I were talking the other day, he put it in a very good way, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I don't think we want everything. Yeah, we don't want everything defined.
We don't, we're gonna shoot ourselves in the foot and
So-
tie our hands behind our back.
That's not what I want, but I do think something like personal service shop or service establishment, I think those need to be tweaked or defined.
Yeah, well, they're coming up, they hadn't come up before, but right, and we need to
Yeah.
define that.
Yeah, daycare facility, I only brought that up because there's a wide variety of what that means. And so maybe we can at least zone in a little bit on that and define that further, but if anybody has any other terms.
We're probably gonna have to add in a definition of a charging station or a charging, something or other, because we're gonna be hit with those probably at some point in the future, so let's get it in definitions.
Yep.
And contractor base.
Yeah, contractor, maybe.
Yeah.
On the charging stations in commercial and private.
Probably so. If it's as a residential, then we have no jurisdiction over that. So it has to be commercial for us. Yeah, people
Would
live
we
in
say a
houses.
multifamily is commercial, or would we say it's private?
If it's over 3, it comes here.
Comes commercial?
Well, it comes,
Also residential, I would say, but I mean, I see what you're saying.
yeah.
So,
Is it-
back in the day, I might have given this to some of you guys, I went through the zoning and extracted every single last use. And one of the things that happens in our bylaw is we have, for example, we have childcare facility, daycare facility, daycare or kindergarten facility. Okay, a childcare facility is permitted in the industrial park. A daycare facility is permitted by special exception in the residence and in village business 1. And a special exception in the business. And a daycare or kindergarten facility is permitted in rural ag. Okay, so.
We keep one and then, right?
That's, it's like a major pain in the butt to clean that up because we have to put it before all the voters, right? I don't know how you express that, but it sure would be sweet if we could address that kind of problem. Now, do you have a copy? I know I gave one to Stefan.
It's on the drive. I guess I'm probably sure.
Yeah.
I can look at it tomorrow.
I mean, but it's just a way to
Oh no, that
This-
was beautiful.
wasn't that beautiful?
So I-
Spreadsheets rule.
I love tables like that, and,
Yeah.
and a lot of people have those in their ordinances, where
Uh-huh.
they have a spreadsheet of use on the left,
Yeah.
zone on the top, and then just
Exactly.
like X where it's
Exactly,
permitted.
that's what
So,
this is, yeah.
I'm not saying we need to do that, it'd be lovely if we did that. It would take
It's
some
so
work, but-
easy, right? Because you can just scan down, rural ag, okay, here's
Mhm.
all the lists. But it gets funky in our town, because we've got these multiple definitions of what, in my
Yeah.
mind, is the same thing.
Yeah,
So that, I don't know how we deal with that, but I would love to deal with that.
right.
So we also have like a hospital or licensed nursing home or a nursing home. And it's, permitted in one place or another place. And we've got a lot of things like that.
Nursing home or licensed nursing home?
Yes, hospital or
Daycare,
licensed nursing home
kindergarten
is permitted in
no
rural
longer
ag. And
outsourced
a
other
nursing
than that to
home is
public school,
permitted in
correct?
commercial
But
industrial.
that would
I guess not.
It might be an outdated term.
Yeah, well,
It's just.
then I'm
it's
thinking,
creepy.
what about like Montessori?
Yeah,
Right.
it seems to be redundant.
But don't they have a myriad of grades? Doesn't it go up to like 6th grade or something like that?
What do you,
For what?
Montessori?
yeah, I believe so.
But, we're talking about kindergarten, daycare, kindergarten
Yeah.
thing.
That-
Yeah,
I
that
don't
might be
think
a
you
little
need-
outdated now.
Now this, the state has all kindergartens in public school, so daycare wouldn't be involved.
Well, actually, with kindergartens don't have to be in public schools, no, they can be private.
But it has to be an accredited institution, I think.
Sure, that's easy to get if you got, if somebody wants to start a home and they're a accredited teacher already, it's a slam dunk for them to do it. But
So again, this is just an initial kind of getting feelers out there. I'm seeing positive reactions for wanting to update some of these terms. Does anybody have terms that haven't been discussed yet that you want to see updated? This is going to be a lot of work, and so we don't have to do this. We don't have to nail down terms now, but
And we just have to keep in mind about the warrant articles.
exactly. So we need to get those out October.
I mean, keep in mind that each definition is its own warrant article.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
right.
you know,
So you don't wanna have
you don't
30
wanna
to
put
put there.
Yeah. you don't wanna
So
put that.
important. So maybe we
You
can
can
find
choose.
this.
We had a good
Pick and choose.
we got them trained a little bit from last.
Yeah.
Probably will, but you know, at least we won't have 50.
How about I put a priority list together for next meeting, and then we can reorganize that priority list, we have at least a top 10 of what we want to see.
And maybe one would be consolidating the terms that Victoria's just talking
Yep.
about.
Do you want, if you
Yeah.
take this and make a
consolidate.
copy
Are you
of
sure?
it, well,
The one
you
definition, yeah.
want it
that-
as a
that would be
spreadsheet, though. You want it on a computer, you don't want this.
Yeah, I think we already have it.
You have an
I still have
old
it.
version, because I've updated it to put the new,
Oh.
what passed with our recent zoning amendments.
If you want to email it to us, I would love that.
Do you-
Yeah.
Do you have that digitally? Okay, if you could email that to us, that would be great.
Okay,
And,
okay,
yeah,
yeah.
that looks fantastic.
Oh, so sweet.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the main, that was one of the things we wanted to cover today, just definitions. One of the other things was industrial park district uses. I think one of the main omissions in there was that industrial park was not a permitted use in the industrial park zone. It feels like we should have that in there.
It's
probably.
not. It's silent on that. That's funny. It's a special exception in business.
Yeah, so I feel like that should be included. I think you guys probably would
But
agree.
the fact that it is an industrial park zone, doesn't that kind of tell you that's an industrial park?
Yes.
I mean, the whole thing is a park, it's not one use within the park.
And
It's-
I
it
guess-
is the area.
And that leads into another point where the industrial park zone we have now currently is not being used as an industrial park zone.
Yeah.
With what we've improved with multifamily, businesses going in there. Is there a want to reorganize that into a non-industrial park zone? Or move the industrial park zone?
Where are you talking about?
Second.
Saffron
Yeah,
Drive.
Saffron Drive, yeah.
Well,
So
maybe call it commercial instead.
it's not,
Isn't it a tax increment
It is,
finance district?
it is tax increment finance district.
So I don't think we
It
can
has
do
to,
that.
the infrastructure was put in for that district there, and it
It
has
could
to
be
be.
coming to an end. It's only for a specific
It
period of
is,
time.
yeah, do you happen to know that?
15 years,
Yeah.
or it's.
Oh, it's probably timed out.
so
I
it's
bet
not.
It's very close to being
Is it
at the
close?
end.
Here's the way it was just phrased to me, it's not developing as an initiative. How about that?
True.
Thoughts?
Which is that a good or bad thing too?
Right, exactly, so is that, how do we feel about that? There's a multifamily at the front there, there's nanotech right across, got a lot of empty space, Gridiron just got approved off Stafford.
Carlisle.
I feel like that's the thing too, though, because like, yes, it's the industrial park zone, but like, what is the limit of industry that we want here in Swansea too? Because like, anything beyond like nanotech, what is that going to look like?
Right. Just off the bat, there are a couple properties, there's a couple residential properties on the edge of that zone that do need to be taken out of the industrial park zone. And they have expressed interest in being out of the industrial park zone. I can get you guys a map next meeting, but it's just 3 parcels.
Down further this way?
Yeah, that don't need to be in because they're residential properties. So I think that needs to be on there. We need to redraw their industrial park zone and not include those properties.
That's a simple warrant article. That would be easy to do.
Yeah, and so that's really it for the industrial park zone. Again, it's not failing necessarily, but it's also not going away. I think it was initially envisioned. That was take this with a massive grain of salt,
I
please.
think we thought if we built it, they would come.
It had something to do with the terrain up there, I think is why.
Right.
It's a little expensive to develop up there.
Yeah, so-
Terrain and wetlands there,
Yeah.
two
Yeah.
other negative factors.
So what else would it be suited for?
Town water and sewer, right?
Goes up there.
It's the best
Goes up there.
development we've got.
For housing, I mean, that's what the housing is gonna follow. So. I don't know.
All right. So, the industrial park, that was just a brief conversation. Mike, no, so Route 10 redevelopment / rezone, potential mixed use zone. There has been some discussion about how Route 10 should be redeveloped, rezoned, mixed use. How does everybody feel about that?
What part of the whole corridor, or what part of Route 10 are you talking about?
I think
We have a pretty long Route 10 running down here.
Because Yale Forest takes up the whole bulk of it, right?
Yeah, well, that's probably gonna stay.
Unless they sell their property, it's gonna be tough to do anything with.
At one point-
Was that the historical mountains there? A little further up than that.
Further north.
Basically by like Nix, like so it's like
Oh,
starting
there,
at
yeah.
Nix and probably ending.
Going south from Nix?
Yeah, it's going south from Nix.
South from Nix.
Like the gas station, not Marlo's gas station.
Yeah,
but-
Route 10 mini mart.
Oh, it's down there.
Yeah. Currently all business districts,
Yeah, which like
which it's not bad necessarily, but I think
What
there's
would be the change, you know, what's the
just to allow more mixed uses.
mixed use meaning
That's a good
housing,
question. We don't
housing, or what
have.
are you talking about mixed use?
Yeah.
I also wouldn't necessarily say it needs to be rezoned so much as like we could change the ordinance to encourage more mixed use.
And again, encourage what kind of mixed use?
Yeah, with the cut line mixed
That's
use.
what it is.
You know, that's,
Probably residential and business.
Residential.
So, on the Economic Development Action Committee, we decided we were going to review Route 10 as one of the primary areas and see if we can actually get more granular with the business district. Perhaps have a retail, area versus a commercial area. And the thinking is that if we have a designated retail area, and it's hard to do because so much already established there, but if we had that might actually attract more retail businesses. Because it now becomes a shopping, stretch versus a commercial area where we have industries and stuff like that. So that's something that I actually presented, and we're really just embarking on that. Another thought that I'll share here is, Yale Forest does take up a lot of Route 10. It might be beneficial to us to rezone some of the Yale Forest to kind of meet that retail business criteria. So if Yale ever decided that they wanted to, start selling their land off, that's already zoned appropriately for something that we might see would be more desirable in town. So there's just some thoughts.
Is it its own commercial right now? It's all over that last
It's all business.
Business and
Both.
residence.
And then a lot of the Yale is also rural agriculture.
Like when you go out, so.
Yeah,
Route
but
10.
I think like, 100 yards off of Route 10, zone that differently than the rest of the forest.
Well, I guess on our master plan right now, the guide is, we want to see what the people wanted to see in that thing we did. They want to see all the commercial developed right down the alleyways of 10, 12, and 32. They would want to push out too far to the east or west on Route 10. Maybe go in, I don't know, 100 yards or so, but they didn't want to go way out into the forest.
Yeah.
They want to see green space.
But at one point,
Absolutely. Yeah, so.
at one point, Sarah, when she was here, was putting out feelers with Yale about swapping some lands so that we could have an industrial site again after losing the portion that we did to Platinum. And I don't know where that wound up, or how far she got with that before she left. So that was
what lane do we swap, or we don't, town doesn't mind that.
Again, you know, she only mentioned that, you know, she was looking into that, and what she had in mind for swapping with them, I really don't know, but it might be something that we contact.
We've approached Yale 3 times that I recall in the past, and they've come to the board, met with us, and each time they have no intentions of letting that go. They want it to be forced, regardless of what. So,
First of all, it's a big tax write-off for them.
and we can still zone it that way. It's nothing to them. If the town wants to zone it that way, the town zones it that way. That's it. But if it's zoned, see, I'm wondering if it's zoned differently, will it be taxed differently?
They're probably incurring use right now, I would imagine.
I don't know. How it is there. Yeah.
2, which gives them the best tax break.
We can continue to work with EDAC and present something a bit more solid.
So
Like
right,
that.
but right now we have a map.
Yeah.
We have a list of all the businesses, and we're gonna plot them on that map so it's visible to us.
Yep.
And then see if we can come up with, kind of themed areas.
And again, we can, the town can go ahead and rezone that
Yeah.
regardless of Yale talking about it.
Yeah.
But in the whole plan, be realistic about what we really think will work. I mean, that can be rezoned down there, but may or may not be developed, but other areas further south on Route 10 probably will be developed. There's 3-phase power down there now. It doesn't have the water or the sewer, but it does have 3-phase there. So that's more realistic to see what might be encouraged going into those properties.
Also that little area where like tire warehouses and industry there, but also.
So the idea was to come up with something to actually present to this board, kind of being realistic, between 2 and that.
Something a bit more solid. I think, we can continue to work on that. All right, so something a bit more solid and a bit more tangible is I want to gauge interest in slightly decreasing parking.
Well, did you check the new law that I told you about?
I did. I couldn't. I saw something in there about parking. Go ahead.
Yeah, there was the first part that's parking. According to the new law, we can't require more than 1.5 spaces per unit anyway. And there's also what they call the alternative parking part of it, where the developer comes in and he has X amount of units, but he doesn't have enough space, he can come up with an alternative plan. And even if we disagree with him, he gets to do what he wants to do.
Well, so right now our ordinance already allows for 20% reduction
Right.
if he has a space delineated for parking for future use. So I think, I don't love it, but it's in there now.
You're talking businesses too,
But yeah.
not just residential.
I'm talking across the board. I would like to see it just a slight reduction in parking maximums.
But where it's going to have its effect is residential. That's
Where-
going to be the most effect is residential because they'll have more units, be able to put more units on.
Minimums, yeah.
But I would double read that law again to see
yeah.
how that will affect us.
Because I
think it will.
I have an inkling that there are going to be some projects in the future that are going to need variances for parking, the way our code is written.
Right.
And I think regardless, they're going to need variances, but if we reduce them, we need to talk about how much, if we are. So,
This is multifamily, more multifamily is coming.
well, if we have any projects in the future that need parking, and our parking requirements are.
We want to be careful about that, otherwise we're gonna end up with what T-Bird has down there on Base Hill Road.
I haven't seen that.
That thing just sucks, the whole thing about it.
You mean the intersection, or what do you mean?
Everything, just that little dinky parking lot that they have in there for that plus the Dunkin' Donuts drive-through, so traffic is always backed up right out into the parking lot, so it makes it impossible for people going into the store to go in there and park. And
Well,
I see it almost every morning when I drive by there on the way into work.
We have stacking requirements in our ordinance that should hopefully prevent that. I guess while we're on that topic, we would like to also see bailout lanes for drive-throughs. So if you build a drive-through, we don't want your lots in the drive-through.
Well, when both of the Dunkins were put in, we didn't have a zoning thing on drive-throughs at all.
Yep, and now we have at least,
Hey, something.
Yeah, but I wanna see at least something where you're able to bail out. I think that's just a safety thing. I call it a bail.
It's a bail.
It's a bailout, yeah.
Just a third lane, or
Yeah,
second in
it's-
some cases, but a
You need
third
more,
lane.
you need more space, but I'd like to be able to get out of the drive-through.
It does make the property work better.
It
in that
does.
regard. Just
It
like
does, 'cause
split
even
lane
the
on
one-
Route 10 makes it
Yep.
look beautiful on Route 10.
Yeah.
Even the one in North Swansea, at times you can see it back right up to the
Well,
wall.
that one's rough, yeah. So, there are some alterations there
And
that,
that wasn't necessary because they own a lot next door too.
yeah.
If there's a reduction in parking, I'd like to see that area remain green, so should it be down the road,
Yeah.
it's there.
Yeah, we can,
It shouldn't be
Well, then, you're
additional space.
talking about
to
two different
that.
things here. You're talking about a reduction in parking on the site plan, that, it's gotta remain green, but we're talking about a reduction in parking regulation as to what would require, regardless of whether it's green space or not.
I would push back gently on the idea that that area needs to be set aside for future parking. I wouldn't wanna see that. I would just wanna see a reduction. I think the idea behind a reduction is to just have it be a bit more lenient on businesses who might not have the space. I don't think requiring that space to be used for future parking, I don't think that's gonna be a good idea, because then you might as well just require the parking at that
Now,
point.
what would you require the parking space to be on? I mean, based on square footage in a store, say, or you? like a
Well, it's
parking
already
house?
based, I think it's already based on square footages now, it depends on the use, not always, it's not always true. Yeah. Units. We would need to go through the parking table and figure out what's best for each use. This is gonna be a larger discussion, I just wanna gauge interest.
The reduction you're talking about, though, is like an across-the-board, a requirement reduction, not the reduction that we currently have in our zoning now.
Yeah,
That says
exactly.
You can reduce, if you have the space later on to go,
Yeah.
what you were talking about there.
Yeah.
It's a whole different thing we're talking about here. A
Yeah,
reduction
so-
is not the same reduction.
Exactly, so say we require one space per 100 square feet, we can reduce that by 0.5 spaces per, just in like what
Are you talking strictly business?
Yeah, across.
I don't think we have to do
Well,
it.
the problem is there, if you get into a business situation and you're saying, okay, you can only have the X amount of parking spaces.
No, sorry.
She's talking the minimum.
Minimum, so.
Minimum, okay.
Yeah, they're always able, so they're always able to go over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, my point was, the way you kind of, or I was reading it, was that you're going to wind up restricting customer flow to a business because you're only going to limit, or allow so many parking spaces. You're reducing it by, according to the square footage of the building.
No, not across, there's just an example. So we want to lower the floor, not raise the ceiling, right? We want to lower the required number of spaces, but they can still have as much parking as they want. That's not on us.
But if we do that, then we're going to wind up with a person that comes in here with a project. He wants to save as much money as he can. So he's going to put in the absolute minimum.
That should be fine.
Always, but what I'm saying is, if we're going to reduce or say this is what you need to do, or you can do, then to my feeling is we're restricting to a degree the amount of customer or flow that can go through that area. We need to keep it at least one.
But that's a poor business model on their part to not provide enough parking. So why would you do that to yourself?
Why? I don't know. I'm not going down that road.
So I think without solid examples, I can take the parking table and we can make adjustments, and then we can talk about those adjustments and figure it out. Again, this whole purpose of this discussion is to gauge interest. I'm seeing mixed interest in this. Is this worth talking about further, or is this worth tabling until the next cycle of town meeting?
Let's prioritize. Site plan modification or the modification to the site plan.
And that
that's
doesn't need a
priority.
warrant. That doesn't need a warrant.
But, yeah, no, I'm not a warrant, but I mean, prioritize what this board is working on.
Yeah,
Work on that first.
Yes.
Those come up quite a bit afterwards.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then then zoning amendments, definitions.
Yep.
Definitely want to prioritize those.
Yep.
And if we have time, possibly parking is the third thing.
So
What else?
I would say ADUs before parking.
I don't think I don't think parking is above, our next topic.
So let me just make one more point with parking,
Yep.
is, whatever we decide, we wanna make sure that, we're not creating a scenario where people are forced to park on the roadsides, where we have overly congested parking lots that we can save just to,
It's not that Swanzey.
That means our regulations are working.
And I will say, not for nothing, like, when you look at other places, they have a lot of public off-street parking, which we don't have as much as we have, so like transportation.
True.
Not yet.
So one is definitely, like, we do need that as our bare minimum. But like, the difference between like 1.5 or 1.5 also makes a difference.
So, and then if I go to that Swanzey post office, or the big post office. I mean, why? That was that, this is a big building, or did they just
I
have
think
a lot of asphalt?
good place to learn how to drive.
They were supposed to
It had nothing better to do with that corner of land.
True, that's what it was.
So you can do donuts in the driveway.
Absolutely.
grass.
Yeah. Like ADU and DAU, it's not really the planning board to review ADU and DAU because that's the zoning board typically. I would like to see those sizes bumped up. Currently, the maximum square footage of the ADU, well, I guess it's DAU. This is mainly for DAUs, is 1,000 square feet. I'd like to see, yes.
Also, before I forget this, I keep forgetting to remind everyone to turn the mic on before you talk, just because otherwise the video's gonna come out kind of. But I was going through the ordinance and I saw that the wording is a little vague. Yeah, it's not living space. Yeah, it just says 1,000 square feet. So technically speaking, if you have 2 floors, but no, it says yeah, it doesn't say living space. It says the footprint of the building. So like if your building is 20 by 20, you can't count the second floor as like contributing to that, because that's living space, not the footprint of the building.
So there you go. I think we need to maybe hone in a bit and have this be gross square living. I don't know. Right now it's 1,000 square feet for a detached ADU. There's a couple changes that I think we need to make this a bit more flexible for homeowners. We can either go down the route of limiting it to a percentage of how large the primary structure is. A general rule of thumb in my field, typically, not saying we have to do this, typically, is to have the DAU not be larger than the primary structure. Does that sound?
That would make sense.
Okay. So now in our ordinance, unless I missed it, we can have an 800-foot primary structure with a detached accessory dwelling unit of 1,000 feet. I think the DAU needs to be smaller than the primary structure across the board. And I don't think it should ever be larger than the primary structure.
But we have a minimum, don't we, on that, or no? No minimum on that?
We do.
No?
I'd also be careful with that though, because like people have cabins.
we do on the primary
Put another structure on the
Yeah.
property, and your cabin's only like 600 square feet, but you want to put 1,000 square feet in the
Yeah.
backyard.
I'm not saying we have to do it. I'm just saying, yeah.
We're talking square feet, we're talking footprint.
Yeah, gross square footage, very specifically. So if you have a footprint of 500 square feet, that's 2 floors, it's 1,000 square feet of gross square footage of living space. So right now, the way it's phrased is they can have 1,000 square feet.
It's phrased that your footprint can
Sorry.
be up to 1,000 square feet. So technically, you have 2,000 square feet.
If you had 2
It's my
floors, what you're talking
interpretation.
about.
Yeah, well, the zoning board, I don't think they
let
can
me
say
read it real
they
quick.
can have 2,000.
So it says,
25 by 40.
DAU shall be
Yeah.
it says DAU shall be no greater than 1,000 square feet. Full stop.
That's it. Oh, wow, yeah.
It's vague. It's vague. I do think that should be higher if the primary residence is a 1,500 square foot house. I think the DAU should be 1,250. No, I think they should be allowed to build over 1,000 to maximum, like.
How does that settle with the ADU law? I thought that was max on 1,000 square feet.
I haven't looked at the RSA. So if the RSA is.
I don't know if I'm right, but that's what I remember reading.
That is such a what?
1,000 square feet max on an ADU.
You're talking about state law?
Yeah.
Or you're talking state law, and they're setting the maximum for the town?
That's what I remember reading, because they were talking, we were looking into, they were gonna do a second one, and they defeated this year.
Yeah.
What, 800, one 1,000.
So recently I looked that up. I thought that got approved.
So I did.
Because our board was
So it was the
talking about
one,
the other day.
it was the one that we got killed.
Yeah, I remember it getting killed.
1,400 got signed, you wanna look at that one, because that's a dangerous one too.
No less than 750 square feet. I don't believe it's such a massive. But no less than 750, which I think you don't want to do.
It seems to me like many of the multifamily units that we recently approved are in the order of 600 square feet.
And that's where they.
So, I'm just saying, you're concerned because it's not enough space to live in? Is that why it seems
I
too
think
small?
if you want to build bigger than 1,000 square feet, you have the land. A lot of people here have a lot of land. You should be able to build a little bit bigger. I think 1,000 square feet is limited, and if we can make it a little bit more than that.
So what you're saying, if I have a 1,600 square foot home, it's been 5 years,
Yep.
then I could build a 2,000 ADU.
No, maybe raise it by like 250 to 500.
Well, for ADU specifically, you can't be more than 1,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what I'm saying, with a change, you're saying that.
So maybe we raise it by 250, maybe we raise it by 500 square
I
feet.
just call mine a barn.
Well, you're talking about DADs though.
Specifically DADUs right now, sorry. Yeah, so DADUs are limited.
It would be time to use the percentage, really.
It would be
It would
time.
be
Yeah,
it would
you'd
be
have to
1,000
use
feet or a certain percentage of the primary usage,
That's-
whichever.
And again, I think Swanzey should stand on its own. A lot of municipalities use a percentage. I can't speak on how well they work, but using a percentage would ensure that it's not larger than the primary structure, while also giving them more flexibility.
So, okay, assessing, primary structure, like, my primary structure happens to have this like huge porch around it, so you would think that I would have an enormous ADU, but the living space in my house is really much smaller.
Yeah, that's always.
So, where are you gonna get, where's that number, primary structure coming from?
I usually look at the footprint and.
Just footprint, okay.
No,
Well, if you're saying footprint, you just mean like foundation.
Foundation.
Like which wouldn't include the porch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so
So then you put a foundation underneath your porch.
I would include gross square footage. So whatever you have, main living space, upstairs, downstairs, gross square footage of living space.
Use assessing tab.
Well, assessing that it does use.
It breaks it, no, it's not gross, it's, is there factors that have to do with like sloped roofs and second floor. My porch doesn't count as living space.
No.
That's what I'm assessing that.
Well, I don't think it should.
It typically does not in most of the, not only our
I'm
town.
just saying that, I just feel like that it's been counted.
Oh, we will. We're just.
No, this is just like, but no, like a gross square footage of living area. That's
That includes storage, so it'd be like,
I think it would be net, not gross.
why not?
Because when you're talking about living area, you're already reducing it from basically the entire structure. Like we're targeting just.
No, sorry.
space.
Yeah.
I don't want to include the cellar, or the most of the houses.
Yeah, I think we're getting into.
We'll work on it. We'll work on it.
We're getting. So we include the house, like anything in the gross square footage of the house, and the primary structure. We don't need to get into living area, not living area, just the gross square
no more
footage.
than 80% of gross square.
Something like that, sure, yeah, we get, that's a rough phrase.
There you go.
Yeah.
Done.
Exactly, next.
Yeah.
What if you have, as you're saying, your footprint, original footprint, you go up and you're putting a second floor and you want to put like a garrison where you have an overhang outside of your original footprint, which would increase your footprint double plus, what, 20% or 25%? Where are you there? Do you follow what I'm saying?
But if, you know, if it's set to, we're keeping it simple, like we're talking about there, just the footprint of the building, and someone does that, then you have the ZBA to go argue that point and say, well, you know, I've got, you know, I've got the square footage up here and over that, and it's people retaining
What I'm,
property.
yeah, what I'm looking at, say a small cottage around the lake. Okay, and I have another building beside it, and I want to go up on that, but I want to expand it for visitors or family. I go outside the original footprint on the second floor. Am I allowed to do that?
Well, that's why gross square footage is better.
Yes, that's what I'm, okay, that's where we need to tie this down.
Yeah.
About the height of the building, not to exceed-
We already have height.
But should it be able to exceed the height of the primary
No,
building?
I don't think so.
Do we have that defined? No.
We have 25 foot max net for detaching. I think that's.
Well, if it's within regulations, it's within regulations.
Right, yeah, that's, if it's within our zoning ordinance.
Because if it's like 2 or 3 acres back,
Yeah,
well,
and
that's how you can't have that.
And that's the thing, we have such large lots here. I mean, why? I feel like these things are so range from a large lots. Anyway, there's again initial discussions of all of this. I love to see the discussion. The last thing I have on here are septic requirement adjustments, and this was coming mainly from Mike. Stefan, are you able to explain this better? Because I still septic.
You're talking about setbacks, is that what we're talking about?
So, kind of. It's like distance to wetlands, the 125 foot rule. We're trying to bring more science into this because, like, if you have your septic 2 feet away from seasonal high water, then like, where did this 125 come from?
Exactly, but it's been that way. I know.
Because it's really old. Yeah.
It is, it's just been on and on and on because people don't like the thought of a septic system being close to a endangered wetland. You know, they don't maybe know how the whole thing works, how it works out, but it's just the thought of it. It's like the thought of spreading sludge from our treatment plant on that field out back there. It's allowable and encouraged by the state, but the thought of it, you gotta do it.
Well, also,
So,
I'm sorry.
we've talked about this before, that 125% back there.
Mike Jasper, was that on?
Oh, here it is.
Yeah.
That's that one.
Yeah, right this year.
He had some data, right? He was,
Yeah.
where we left it
And he did-
last
he
was
did-
that we
yeah.
needed more data to feel like we could proceed. So I think until we get that data.
I thought we got that data. Didn't get that data? You know,
We can talk tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I also remember the conservation committee has to hold off on it because they are going through the evaluation of the plan. There's the ecological,
Yep.
and, you know, what we're looking at.
Hey, you're at the planning board right now.
I understand. We're looking to get out of that is the designation of primary wetlands versus secondary wetlands. And that distinction could mean a difference in that setback.
Okay.
From their perspective, once again, they're going downward to present the plan worth at some point.
And then bringing the state requirement as well, you know, looking at that as well.
Which I think is 75.
It is, as far as I know, 75 feet. Yeah. But it's, you know, a bit of a taking of someone's property if they can't put their septic system back.
Where technology has changed too, right?
A lot, yeah.
More efficient.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's more scholarly articles on it.
well, they are, but a lot of it, you know, of course, has to do with the soil conditions.
Gotcha.
Swansea is perfect for septic system, but other towns aren't, so you might have to be more than 65 feet back. You got ledge or something down there, you have to be back further from that wetland in that septic system. So,
Okay.
we'll look at that anyway, again.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Might bring us that information.
That is it.
Okay?
For me.
All right. All right.
I'm sure.
Let's adjourn before you think of something.
Yeah.
Motion that we adjourn.
I second.
All right, we have a motion to adjourn by Brandon and a second by
Quick run.
Done.
All right, okay, we're good.
All right, thanks guys. Thanks, guys.